Hey folks, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I'm Julianne Hoore, the bearded bombshell of the Scottish drag scene. Today we're going to be talking about the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13. It is finally here and we have a winner. Spoiler alerts. Congratulations, Simone, of course. Kind of saw it coming, especially the way, the producers just loved her, clearly, even though she had stumbles. I was hoping for Gottmik to win, but hey-ho, it is what it is. Gottmik still absolutely served it. And for the first time in a finale, they had a ball, which was quite unusual, but also very interesting. We're not going to review the eliminated queens because there's so many looks just alone in the ball between the 4 queens, 3 categories, and that's 12 looks. Then there was their performance outfits, which were, we're not even going to go there, period, because they were awful, pretty much mostly. It was reveal for the crown, let's just say, as expected, and they just came out and you're like, reveal. Okay, and then you're just sat there waiting for it, and the performances weren't that gripping. First category for the ball was black and white, and first up we have is Gottmik. Out of all the queens, I'm just going to say straight up, Gottmik served the absolute most, in my personal opinion. Simone being a very close second, and then the other two were just kind of there. But Gottmik comes out in this Hellraiser fantasy, obviously being someone who obviously does the clown white face as her signature. This was a good idea to kind of have it with a purpose, you know. A white face is very much Hellraiser, and then the chains that she had, as with the little diamantes where the crosshairs were coming in, that was genius and so well done. I was absolutely in love with this look. I love horror films, so this really spoke to me on a personal level, but also the gown was just next level. She had all these leather paneling that really kind of curved into her silhouette, padded out amazingly. It was just so iconic that I'm going to remember this look for a long time, and it is a total gag. Next up we had is Candy Muse giving us a little message with BLM written on her dress, but to be perfectly honest, you couldn't really tell that's what, well, in my opinion, you couldn't tell that is what it said. You can immediately see the M because obviously there's such a big focus there with that's where the kind of skirt ends, and then at least at the front, and then the rest pops off, but then the top bit I could barely make out the L, and then the B was on its side, so it was not a very cohesive lead to BLM. Message, of course, is so important. We've seen it before with Simone's look saying say their names on the Fascinator runway. This, I just don't think it was as a successful look, but nevertheless just still as important look as well. The B as well, there was all these bits of black that was coming up on the top, so it kind of got lost in that, whether that was meant to be part of the dress and was a letter, or was part of all the bits that were coming up on top. I wasn't quite sure, that's why it was hard to read, but it's a cute look, very simple, very classic, it looked really good, so it's a gag. Next up we had is Rosé giving a very different twist to the My Fair Lady dress worn by Audrey Hepburn, but giving it kind of Submariner, very unusual, but I loved it. We've seen this dress before in season 10. Miss Cracker wore a very similar dress for the, what was it? It was a hats runway, I think, and she had the hat made out of hair. But this was so different. And she said her reference was Mugler, which I thought was a bit strange. I kind of understood it in terms of the silhouette. It was giving heavy silhouette, but it made me more think of the Moncler brand, which is originally a ski brand from 100 years ago, I suppose. And they do a lot of kind of performance wear, sportswear, but they've done a lot of great collaborations with designers such as Richard Quinn, Craig Green, where they take kind of those kind of puffer silhouettes and make them huge gowns. So interesting, so intriguing. Shea Coulee, I think, wore one of them. Cardi B's definitely wore one of them. And it made me think of that opposed to Mugler, especially with the quilted black fabric that looks all padded. I thought it was such a genius way to take something that we've seen before a couple of times, but make it so incredibly brand new and so incredibly different and so incredibly a gag. Then last up we had was Simone giving French panier but black Americana. Very Simone in terms of taking something, celebrating her black culture and kind of mixing them together. Such a great idea. But when I think you're doing something so glamorous and so out there, symmetry can be quite important. And so she has these bandanas draped on the panniers, but they're not even, they kind of just look thrown on as if she just put them there, like as if to just hold on to them for a second. And it looked a little bit messy, especially from the skirt down. The corset that she had was, well, I don't even know if it was corset because it didn't look as if it fitted her that well, because the cups were like bouncing all around and were deflated at parts. But the corset, we shall call it, was white with the black silhouettes kind of like shaping her in so beautifully, because Simone doesn't necessarily really corset that much. Not to say like Gottmik does, both of them are both really skinny, but Gottmik really cinches, whereas Simone really doesn't. So you can kind of see the difference there, and I think if she pinched it in maybe a little bit, I think it would have really gone even crazier with the silhouette, making her so slim, and in these huge panniers coming out. But of course the hair, as always, Simone gives good head, and that huge take on a French bouffant with the bandana wrapped in it was so clever, so genius. Absolutely in love with it. And even though there's a couple of things I would definitely change for this look, it is still a total gag. Next category we have is red all over, very similar to the red for Phil Runaway in All Stars 3. But the queens take totally different directions here. Up again, first we have is Gottmik, and this David Bowie meets Keith Haring merged together in this beautiful celebration of trans rights, transness of Gottmik. So beautiful. And I like how she took those two elements but made it so unique to her and made it so fantastic. Like the silhouette of the trousers isn't the exact same as David Bowie's, and she's followed it with the print that she's got from the Keith Haring style. So clever, so genius way to make it yourself, but heavily influenced by those two artists. It was just stunning. Like, you cannot be mad at this. That look was phenomenal. It's such like a gender fuck as well. David Bowie, such a like gender queer person when you kind of looked at him, especially in his heyday, and so it's so appropriate to, I think, take that for Gottmik and really elevate it and make it something new and unique with the Keith Haring print. Obviously another gay pioneer as well. If you don't know them, research them, know your queer history, but nevertheless, Gottmik, it's a gag. Next up we had was Candy Muse giving us a banshee look that gave great reference back to her entrance look, but it felt like a escalation, elevation of her original entrance look, although I don't think it has the magic of her entrance look. I thought the denim, it looked really put together, really banshee, really New York. I see those elements in this, but it's so polished that I think it loses a bit of that magic, but it's still a great look entirely. The only thing is just that red dress is like, I feel I could get like a red leather dress somewhere. Like, it's not that wild, maybe with not as many like rivets in them, but I could easily put the rivets in it myself, you know, and make that dress like very easily. The perfect part of this though is the styling. Those gloves that are covered in gold with the red leather is phenomenal. Again, with the boots as well, it just looks so stunning. It's really head to toe, especially with those headphones that she's got on. Those headphones, such a great touch. Elevating again from what she has with the mini boombox as well in there. Really shows her kind of like story from beginning to end. Like, she's a little bit more polished in certain areas, but she still knows her roots, all those kind of things. So it was a very great look to see in terms of where Candy's been on her journey. This look is an absolute gag. Next up we have is Rosé, giving us a walking children through nature look in this red sheer bodysuit, jumpsuit that she then has roots and branches like climbing through. It's emulated in the hair as well, and I like how all the roots and branches are like embellished, glistening, they're shiny. But the only thing is, like, I don't know what this says about Rosé in the finale. You know, like, Gottmik's looks so far have really spoken to her. Candy's looks as well have really spoken to her. Simone so far as well. But what does this say about Rosé? I'm not too sure. The look itself is obviously not something you could just get, kind of like Candy's red leather dress. But it just doesn't seem so elevated enough compared to some of the other girls. It's a good look, but I'm just not wowed by it. It's not my favourite of the night. It's not my least favourite of the night either. So it's still a gag. Last up we have is Simone giving us red nails. She referenced it as it's like a big part of kind of like black women always have like big long red nails, I'm assuming is the reference. I've seen the pictures before and the stereotypes of that black women always have like these big huge massive claws, whether they're specifically red I'm not particularly sure of that unless she's speaking of a very specific reference, but nevertheless I understand it in some way, and the fact that it's just red is brilliant, obviously because part of the runway theme. But she always again gives good head with this wig that has hair sculpted into the shape of hands and then red nails on the end of those hands, blonde wig from there, and then just this dress glistening, which I wasn't sure at first what it was, and then she said about the red nails in her confessional, even though it wasn't obviously, it's just her voiceover, and then I was like, oh my god, it's all of it is nails, and I was like, I see you, Simone. This is good. This is taking again her culture, Black Americana, what we know it for, and just going off on it, you know, like it's just wild. Simone, this look was such a gag. And now we're on to our final category. It is Grand Finale Extravaganza Eleganza. So basically the queens can do anything. It's probably going to be expected that they'll wear a gown. First onto the runway we have is Gottmik in this evil queen. Most exquisite thing I've ever seen. I was gobsmacked. I had to pause and just look at all of it in all of its glory, because this dress was so next level. I see this and I think it's something that a returning queen would come in and wear. But no, she's the finalist, and like these finalists, especially Gottmik and Simone, they're clearly spending stupid money on Drag Race that even if they win, they probably won't be in profit by the end of it, especially since they're taxed on the winnings. Like Trixie Mattel says she only got like about 60 odd grand from her winning All Stars. So yeah, the expectation of money in drag is something else. So I can only imagine what some of these queens spend even just on these finale gowns, and then you put their whole runway pack together as well. Makes me feel a little sick. Anyway, Gottmik, this was beautiful. The whole golden cage was beautiful, but the fact that cage was open to her flesh with the red heart in the center was just amazing. And I always think of queens that pad really well, like Lawrence Chaney, for example. You always think of bigger queens, you're like, oh, they give really great silhouette, Ginger Minge. But Gottmik is another one. Obviously, being a really skinny queen, she doesn't really need to corset that much, but she still does. And then she has these big, huge, extravagant pads, which I am so obsessed with the silhouette. If I was that skinny, that would be me. I feel that in my soul. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit bigger, but nevertheless, Gottmik looks so fabulous. The pearls going down the dress into the mermaid skirt was like, phenomenal. All the details were there, and even with the silhouette, and she had this big huge shoulder piece as well, and neck kind of brace at the back. This is downright my favourite look, period. This was a gag. And next up we had is Candy Muse. And this is kind of the second, since first was kind of Rosé's, and this is the second kind of disappointment of the night so far in terms of looks. And it's Candy Muse in this peacock look. I don't know if it's obviously maybe coming off of Gottmik right before with that exceptional gown, but this just kind of fell a little flat. And again, I didn't see any Candy in this, just like I didn't see much of Rosé in that first look. And those are the looks that you know really kind of fail. The gown itself is lovely, it's nice. I like how it emulates obviously the colours of the peacock feathers and the hair that she had with it going slicked back. And then she had the blues in there, it was beautiful, it was all bejeweled and beautiful and the elements that it had. But just overall, the look just didn't really impact me in any particular way. It's nice, it looked good on her. I liked how she did go big with the peacock headdress, but I just wasn't sold on it. It's not a hag, it is still a good look, it is a gag, but I was bored. Then we had another queen giving us royalty, and that was Rosé, giving us a, I don't know, it seemed like a mix of periods with the sleeves and the ruff and all the different elements. It seemed as if there was kind of different pieces picked from different eras and mashed together. So it didn't really read as, say, Elizabethan, Georgian, anything, Victorian. It didn't really necessarily read as like one particular era. It was like a bunch mixed together. So I was like, at first I was like, oh, okay. So then when you have those things put together, it kind of can read as costumey because the references aren't pulled tightly together. And then again, what did it speak to Rosé? Not sure. Obviously, say Scottish and royalty and whatnot. So I suppose that's in there. But I thought it was a good look. I think the colour looked phenomenal. And thankfully, like, at least if she's going to do it, she didn't do tartan, which we've obviously seen her do quite a number of times now as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a good look. And obviously, when I say it's costumey, I mean, obviously you can't go down to the costume shop in Smithies or whatever and get this in a bag. It is exceptional. The big huge long train was fabulous. And all the details that she had, like the ruff, the kind of crosshairs with the pearls or bejewels in them, and the shoes that she had, boots on, all those elements were beautiful and stunning. I just don't think it really worked as a whole, looked together. It's still stunning. I don't know. It's hard to really say it's a bad look, 'cause it's not. I just would have worn something else maybe, but nevertheless it is a gag. And last up we have, of course, is Simone, our winner of season 13, giving us this mix of Versace and Mugler with this Medusa hair and all the kind of gold chains of Versace. And then you have this armour on one side, which is very Mugler. Nikki Doll wore something similar. Someone else wore something similar. Taste, I think, on UK Drag Race wore something kind of similar and reminiscent of it. And it kind of like Mugler armour with, again, the gold chains were on there. I thought it was really clever to tie it all in together. And it was just a stunning look. And those, whether those were her references or not, I am not sure, just speculating. But I thought they were a great merge of them, especially with the gold armour. The Medusa styled hair was fabulous, of course. Again, Simone just killing it with wigs. How can we all compete? And then the kind of Greek goddess draping, and I like how on many of these, this, like for example, even Candy Muse's peacock dress, I like what that meant to her when she was saying it in her confessional voiceover. And the same for here with Simone, like the hard side and the soft side, but the representation of that was quite clever in the way it was done. So this look, of course, is a total gag. And that's it. Season 13 is finally over. After 16 episodes, we are done. And I mean, it was a long season, but there were so many good parts of this season, let's be real. So many great fashion moments, some great comedy moments, some good funny fail moments as well that shall be remembered from this season. Congratulations also to Lala Ree, who is our Miss Congeniality for season 13. I think that's well deserved. I think she was really such a great character on the show. I think she was a fan favourite as well. Fans really reciprocated to her so incredibly well. So yeah, hats off to her. Congratulations to both her and Simone. For Gaggiest Gag, hands down, it goes to Gottmik for that evil queen look. Actually, all of her looks were stunning. I loved every single look that she did this week. That first black and white look with the Hellraiser really spoke to me. The Keith Haring, David Bowie look was just brilliant. And then that evil queen look. Next level. And unfortunately, this is how the bar keeps just being raised and raised and raised. How do we beat this? How can Drag Race have longevity at this point where queens are pulling out this kind of drag? I love it, but where do we go next? Season 14? Got a lot to live up to. And maybe a little bit of a break to my next video, as I'll be moving back to Edinburgh very soon as I have a new job starting. So back on a day job, so there might be a little bit less drag content, but it will still be coming, that is for sure. Let me know in the comments down below who had your Gaggiest Gag for this week. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to press that like button down below, subscribe and ring the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. If you want to check out more of me, check me out on all social media at Julianne Hoore. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye folks.